Senior Economist with the Competitive Enterprise Institute, Ryan Young. Thanks very much for joining us on the programme. What effect do you think these tariffs worldwide will have?
It's not going to be good for the U.S. These are the highest tariffs we've had since the Great Depression in the 1930s, almost 100 years ago. And those tariffs cut world trade by about 2/3. They deepened a global depression. And while I don't think these will be quite that bad, they're going to not only harm America's economy, our allies' economies, they're also going to harm diplomacy and America's foreign policy interests. There's no need to alienate Europe or Canada or Mexico, especially when China poses genuine security threats to the rest of the world. So it's an economic hit and it's a foreign policy hit that's going to affect the entire world.
You mentioned some countries there. I mean, which countries do you think are likely to be worst hit?
The U.S., because, well, we started it. And when a country raises tariffs, the first victim is always itself. And we're already seeing higher inflation, slower growth. The jobs market is starting to take a hit, and it's going to flow over to our trading partners and our allies as well.
Donald Trump, though, has held it, hasn't he, as billions of dollars flowing into the US. Slightly longer term, though, I suppose that the fear is that that is really going to bite into the pockets, if you like, of American consumers. Do you agree with that?
Well, it is raising revenue, but not nearly enough to cover America's budget deficits. And in the meantime, consumers will be paying higher prices, and in some cases already are. If an American wants to buy a new car, that's a minimum of $3,000 out of their pockets. And that is a big hit to a family's budget. So maybe they'll hold off on buying new things, and that trickles over to Ford and GM or any other car maker. That's going to hit their sales, and that in turn hits their employees and their shareholders and people's retirement accounts. It's going to affect everyone, and not in a good way.
I mean, it does beg the obvious question. So why is Donald Trump doing it then?
He just likes tariffs. His team is talking about trade deficits or raising revenue, different foreign policy objectives. They're rationalizing after the fact. The president just likes tariffs. And he's been very consistent about this for 40 years. And he's not going to change his mind unless courts, Congress, or voters change his mind.
I was going to say, might he change his mind if some of those figures and fears that you've mentioned there come to fruition, if you like?
I don't think so. At first, he thought it would just be an unalloyed economic benefit. That has turned out not to be the case. So he said, well, we'll have some pain now, but it will be worth it later. That's turning out not to be the case. So last week, when America got a jobs report that was not very good, he fired the head of that agency that collects the data. So he's not going to change his mind. Someone has to force his hand. And there's a court case right now that might do that. We'll find out in the next few months about that.
There's been a lot of criticism here in Europe, in France as well, of the European deal announced just over a week ago. I mean, how do you see the deal with Europe? A lot of people saying that Europe caved in to Donald Trump.
It does look lopsided. But I also think Europe is playing a waiting game here, because there is a good chance that the Supreme Court in a few months will declare President Trump's Liberation Day tariffs and also the trade agreements like with the Europe and UK and other allies as unconstitutional. So there's a pretty good chance that a deal that looks lopsided against Europe is simply going to mollify the president and buy Europe some time until those tariffs get struck down. And then the president will turn to other slower ways to raise tariffs, but at least it'll buy Europe some time and hopefully come to some sort of more satisfactory agreement that is less destructive.
We'll see how it develops. Ryan Young, thanks very much for being with us on the programme there. Ryan Young, Senior Economist with the Competitive Enterprise Institute.